A bloodthirsty cat owner takes 9 lives to resurrect his beloved pet. When he becomes obsessed with a grieving cat lady, he realizes she'll make the perfect surrogate. One night Laura and Steph enjoy watching the internet sensation and Melda the cat adorably ate her favorite treat. Initially the pair are entertained by the videos, but they get bored over time as they're repetitive. Suddenly they hear a stray feline sound coming from their rooftop, causing them to laugh at the perfect timing. Since Steph hates their little visitor, she fills a bucket with water, planning to scare it off. She invites her friend to accompany her, but the woman refuses because she isn't a fan of her pranks. Upon reaching the deck, she hears a low growl from the coop. Assuming it's the cat, excitedly she dumps the bucket of water in its direction, finding entertainment in its suffering instead of the animal. A man wearing a cat mask emerges, but she laughs at him as she finds his appearance peculiar. She then fishes out her phone to contact the police, but it slips from her grasp as she tries to retrieve it. Catman grabs a shovel and uses it to decapitate the clueless person. Laura is bothered by the strange noise, which compels her to check on her roommate outside. She discovers Steph's head stiffening her body due to fear. The wicked stranger then uses this opportunity to choke her to death with the garden hose. Following this, he collects their blood as he plans to use it to resurrect his beloved pet. Back in his apartment, he enjoys his time alone by interacting with Kitty and on online courtesan, portraying a seductive cat persona. After the service, the man opens his fridge to check on his deceased cat, which he misses dearly. The next day, Gemma visits Clara Elder's owner to check on her pet's well-being. The woman reveals that she's still sick, making it challenging to produce content for their channel. Thankfully, her visitor shows her a flash drive containing a new cat video that she managed to edit using small footage. Moments later, the pair watches the video and enjoys how quirky the feeling line is. Though the fur parent is grateful for her efforts, she worries about meeting the expected viewership. To help her, Gemma tries to fill a meal, but the sick cat is skittish. Much to her disappointment, Claire suddenly opens up about the negative comments she receives online and how they've discouraged her from continuing to create content. Her friend wants to brighten her mood, so she suggests sleeping together. However, she refuses because she isn't in the right headspace. Once she's alone in the apartment, she starts filming her cat when she hears a sudden knock on her door. Curious about the unexpected visitor, she races to the front door only to meet one of Elder's fanatics. In a bit, the pet owner invites Francis in and scolds him for visiting uninvited. The intruder expresses his regret for making her uncomfortable, so she eventually forgives him. Feeling bad for him, she offers to let him meet her pet, which immediately cheers him up. During his time with Amelia, he suggests they dress her for the camera. Claire is against his suggestion because she finds dressing cats cruel. The fanatic stubbornly dismisses her words and proceeds to put her underwear on the animal's head. For this reason, the fur parent orders him to leave, but he doesn't budge. A tug-of-war ensues between them as Francis clings tightly to the poor cat. As a result, he accidentally snaps her head, killing her instantly. He then impulsively throws its body out of the window. Overwhelmed with guilt, seeing the owner's distress, he tries to console her, but she pushes him away. Out of nowhere, the man takes his advantage of the vulnerable woman while the camera is still rolling. After the deed, he races to the bus stop to escape from the area. Unbeknownst to him, he left the camera on the bench, risking Claire's reputation. Meanwhile, Catman, also known as Ted Henson, visits Will to check on his commissioned project. He's delighted that the claw gauntlet is masterfully done, so he praises the artist. Satisfied with his work, the patron requests him to create an instrument that will allow him to mate like a cat. Days following Amala's passing, CLA finds a pet loss support group leaflet in her mail and considers joining as she still grieves her cat. Later that night, Ted watches Kitty's video with desire, wherein he intruded on her house and took advantage of her. It turns out that he took her life to drain her blood for his experiment. As he browses an adult site, the obsessive man encounters footage of Francis taking advantage of CLA. Curious, he watches it and discovers she used her fan mail address as her real one. Moreover, he learns that she also lost her cat, which makes him obsessed with her. Thinking they have a connection, by morning the stalker waits outside the grieving woman's apartment. He notices she's planning to attend the support group, prompting him to follow her at their gathering. Blanche welcomes the newcomers and instructs them to share about the loved ones they have lost. Dramatically she explains that it will help the attendees understand how much suffering they're in. She then urges Ted to take his turn, and he confides to the attendees that he's grieving the loss of his pet Patrick. He recounts that his wife overfed his cat until it burst. It turns out it's his daydream wherein it is figured CLA is his imaginary spouse. He starts distorting reality from fiction, which creeps out the crowd. Before things get weirder, the facilitator encourages Amala's owner to share hers as she recalls losing her cat. To Francis the lurker convulses, deriving twisted pleasure from her grief. His strange behavior bothers the crowd, so he immediately flees to the bathroom to calm himself. Moments later Ted returns to the meeting room and converses with his next prey. He apologizes for his behavior earlier, reasoning that he struggles to remain calm around people. Moving on, he brings up their shared experience of losing their beloved pets. Catching her interest, she wonders how he coped with the pain, and he reveals that he has found a way to resurrect his cat. Confused, the woman presses for answers, but even he can't explain. Eventually he invites Claire to dinner, and she immediately accepts the offer as she craves company at the diner. She eats her food with gusto, admitting that sadness makes her overreach. She then brings up her need to find a job, but she's clueless about what to pursue. Ted suggests adopting a new cat and continuing her content creation, but she objects to it. In her defense, she's still traumatized by Amala's passing, making her reluctant to undergo the same experience again. When she sips her milkshake, the liquid drips from her mouth from overdrinking. The man is stunned by the scene, and his attraction for the woman grows. Though she has finished eating, she invites him for a drink to continue hanging out. She stresses that they stay at his place because hers has bad energy. Upon arriving at his residence, CLA comments on how she finds Blanche's way of handling their grief intrusive. He senses her resentment, so he offers to kill the facilitator for her, thinking he's merely joking. The woman simply plays along before letting her in. He requests a few minutes to tidy up, and she agrees. Inside, Ted anxiously hides his costume and equipment, which he uses on a prowl. Afterward, he heads to his bedroom, where he disguises his cat mask as a lampshade. Soon they share a drink, but when he asks mundane questions such as her favorite color and movie to get to know her better, she becomes silent, finding the exchange awkward. Suddenly she tearfully laughs when she glances at Patrick's portrait, remembering her own cat. Her date is confused with her amusement, but she clarifies that it's her way of grieving. Later that evening, Claire washes her face before bed, but she notices something strange in the litter box. She's creeped out to discover that it appears to contain human waste. Still, she dismisses her concern, thinking she's just making an unjust assumption. Eventually she joins Ted in bed, and the pair ends their night by making love. The following night, Blanche shops for dinner in a convenience store when she notices a shelf of dog food. The brand mascot reminds her of her deceased pet, causing her to break down in tears. Back at her house, the facilitator peacefully eats her meal when she hears a strange noise from her bedroom. Alarmed, she heads to her room only to find Catman in a compromising position. Disgusted and horrified, she attempts to flee, but he swiftly catches her. Now that the woman is under his control, the intruder ends her life just like what he promised CLA. He then harvests her blood, a vital ingredient for his experiment. The next morning, the predator drives into a secluded area and leaves Blanche's remains near the sewers. On the same day, Elder Zona pays respect to her shrine. While listening to the radio, she learns from the news that the mysterious killer has struck once again, as the authorities have found a woman's remains. Since she's preoccupied with cleaning her litter box, she has missed other details regarding the case. Outside, CLA encounters a pair of teens making fun of Elga's place of passing. Enraged, she tries to reprimand them, but they're unfazed by her presence. One of them recognizes her through her sensitive video, so he starts filming her to embarrass her. Upon realizing what he means, the poor woman races back to her apartment. Unable to handle the shame, she then checks the internet and finds users exploiting her vulnerability with reaction videos to her leaked footage. With her tarnished reputation, she can only cry in despair. Meanwhile, Ted watches Patrick's recorded videos in his residence, reminiscing about the good times they had. Determined to resurrect him, he heads to a nearby hostel to prey on unsuspecting backpackers. To his surprise, the lobby is transformed into a party where a sea of people vibe to loud music. The killer then weaves through the crowd. Despite looking misplaced due to his attire, he successfully locates the dormitory on the other side of the room, so he excitedly barges inside. There he finds 4 helpless women whom he thinks are the perfect candidates for his hunt, prompting him to terrorize them. The next day Claire hears from the news that 4 women were found lifeless in the nearby hostel. According to the witnesses, they saw a bizarre-looking man wearing a red shirt and a cat mask. Upon hearing this, she remembers seeing the same mask in Ted's bedroom on the night they made love. She throws up as she feels disgusted and betrayed, unable to process that the gentleman she met is actually the serial killer. Later, the man is delighted to discover that he has collected 8 containers of blood from his prey. With only one target left, he proceeds to retrieve Patrick's body and soak it in the drum of blood, giving it a taste of its impending resurrection. That night, Ted dreams of confessing his secret life as a killer to Claire. To his dismay, the woman is repulsed by his wickedness, causing him to awaken from the nightmare. In no time, the killer proceeds to his last hunt involving Sylvia. A desperate case, and thinking he's only after her body, she enters his car and asks his intent. Inexperienced in picking up women, he wonders if he can get everything he wants. She starts to feel uneasy at their exchange, so she starts to leave. However, he stops her and offers to pay her a hefty bundle of banknotes, so she gives in as she's in dire need of cash. At his residence, Ted informs Sylvia that he wants to try something different with her. Though suspicious of him, she agrees to his request. As she's at his mercy, he proceeds to climb on her back and she carries him into the kitchen, humiliating her. After reaching their destination, the patron orders her to remain in her position before turning the lights off. Once the light returns, Catman appears and jumps from the fridge, crushing the poor woman. Terrified, she attempts to leave, but her injury prevents her from escaping. Unfortunately for her, the killer takes this opportunity to end her life. Meanwhile, an anxious CLA contacts Gemma and informs her that she has slept with the mysterious killer. Initially, her friend refuses to believe her, thinking she's merely joking. She's offended at her accusation and emphasizes that she's calling her because she fears for her safety. Still, she sees no reason to get involved, so she tells her to just call the police. The woman follows her advice but insists that she must accompany her because she needs to feel safe. Eventually, her friend agrees to visit, but she still resents being pushed away. Soon enough, an expectant CLA hears a doorbell, but instead of Gemma, she comes across Catman. Horrified, she tries to flee, but the man lunges at her, subduing her. Following this, she awakens and finds herself restrained in front of Patrick's blood-soaked body, prompting her to scream for help. Unfazed, Ted approaches her and asks how far she would go to bring Imelda back. She denies having an interest in performing such an act, believing it's futile. In her perspective, he didn't slaughter women for Patrick's sake, but to indulge his twisted and sick mind. The man vehemently denies her accusation and insists that her assessment is wrong. To complete his cat's resurrection, he attaches a tube feeder in her mouth, planning to turn her into Patrick's carrier. He then feeds her the blood of his prey and screams at her like a distressed cat. With his face near hers, CLA rams him, knocking him off balance. As he tries to recuperate, his captive pushes herself towards the claw gauntlet and uses it to free herself. Upon seeing this, Ted tries to subdue her, but she strikes her with the claw. This catches him by surprise, though he continues to charge at her, only for him to sustain a fatal injury in his neck. Thinking he's running out of time, he grabs his deceased cat's body and flees out of her apartment. Now alone, the woman suffers from a panic attack until she becomes unconscious. That night, Gemma finally arrives at the apartment, but she's shaken after finding her in a concerning state. Her friend's smooth skin is gone and looks rotten, and she's also pregnant. Shortly after, the doctor checks her vitals and asks if she's been exposed to foreign bacteria. She denies it and says it must have resulted from when she was taken advantage of. Because of this, she's admitted to a psychiatric hospital as she starts to exhibit a mental health crisis. One day, the physician summons her parents and informs them that her condition is stable. Unfortunately, they can't reverse her appearance, much to their disappointment. During the night, CLA heads to the bathroom after experiencing a series of painful cramps. Helplessly, the woman slumps to the floor, realizing she's about to give birth. To her surprise, Catman appears and comforts her as she delivers the child. She becomes horrified when she discovers that she has given birth to a disfigured kitten. Later on, she awakens from her nightmare, relieved that her disturbing experience isn't real. CLA then heads to her bathroom to freshen up, but she starts hallucinating about Ted's presence. She races to her bedroom to calm herself, but the illusions don't stop, compelling her to jump out of her window. A crowd soon gathers around the helpless woman, and while some are genuinely concerned, others film her suffering instead. instead of helping. Meanwhile, inside the sinister man's home, he convulses and is on the brink of death. Before he breathes his last breath, he sees a vision of Patrick giving him a bittersweet farewell. Following his passing, Will discovers in the newspaper that his patron used his creation for evil deeds. Therefore he burns all the blueprints of his Catman costume, keeping it away from their public sighs. For Francis, he ends his own life unable to absolve his guilt. A few days after, Gemma visits her friend in the hospital, who's now in a stable condition. Meanwhile, the authorities eventually discover Ted's lifeless body and they investigate his house. An officer finds a tape of the killer's childhood, rendering him curious. Upon watching it, the rest of the officers learn that he received his cat mask from his father as a Christmas gift.